And welcome everybody back to the Independent Investor Channel. It's been a couple of years here covering the Aduro Clean Technologies story of a couple of subject matter experts here. I've got the king of the microcap space, Mariusz Skonieczny, as well as a subject matter expert on the topic, Yazan. We are going to talk about the news that rocked the world with the uplisting, as well as the newest collaboration. Before we get started here, folks, I want you to understand the intent here. The panel is bullish on the name. We are all shareholders in the company, and I'd like to invite you to review the disclaimers at the bottom of this video. I typically put my shareholding there for you to review, but it is incumbent upon you to do your own due diligence, your own research. The idea here is not to misconstrue facts, rather share what we know and track the progress that this company is on. And as of recently has just accelerated. And we are very, very excited about the news. I will turn it over to Yazan to kick off this panel discussion for you guys. This is aimed for your benefit and to provide to you guys our interpretation of the latest news and where potentially we go from here. Yazan?
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan, for the invite. And this is kind of like the good times. It's definitely not been a quiet summer for the Aduro team, and I second what Ryan said. We are long the stock, so obviously we have our own biases. But with that being put aside, I mean the last few weeks have been definitely exciting and busy for the Aduro team, and the U.S. listing is quite fascinating to me because, knowing this team, I'm pretty sure this has been a few months in the works, and they're, whether it's this or the Total Energies. I mean, in the press release of Total Energies, they explicitly said that this has been months in the works, and after rigorous testing, they've decided to move to collaboration. So we'll talk about that in a second. But the US listing is quite interesting because we keep saying the same thing. We've for the last 3 years of this company, the marketplace of where Aduro's shares are tradable is, I'm gonna say, it's a weak exchange. It's not ideal for growth capital. It was fit for purpose during the I would say early side. But if you want to get now that they've shown R2 continuous flow, they've shown the yield results of 95%. They've shown 6 multi-billion-dollar companies. You need to get on an exchange that appreciates that. You can't be like, the comparison is just so opaque. You're looking at the Pure Cycle that has $1.5 billion in market cap, trades 1 million shares or rough 1 million to 3 million shares, roughly $7 to $21 million US a day, versus Aduro that owns its IP, owns its technology, has all the things that we know going on for it, and it just traded. It's just started getting exciting following those two announcements. So it started getting maybe a few 100,000 shares of trading. So it's time to kind of move up from this exchange to one where they get the attention. And one thing that I think people will forget is, again, even today, we have 75 million shares out, of which 42% are owned by insiders. Now, insiders have done everything in my book that would allow them today to get their last tranche of their milestone, their last milestone. So they will be getting their last 13 million shares any day, in my opinion. And that's because they sat above 65 million in market cap for a few months. They only had to be there for 30 days. They've been above that for a while. They have raised money above $105 million, which was another. They only had to check one, But this team doesn't want anyone to look back at them and say, oh, but you didn't do this. So they checked a few of them. One of them was also a collaboration, so they did that. And honestly, like, they well deserved. But what does that mean? It means that after they get their shares, you're looking at roughly 87 million shares, 88 million shares, and 50% ownership by management. If we take today's price as an example, okay, it could be, just for ease of this exercise. Now, uplisting is minimum is 3 US. The minimum bid on NYSE is 3 US based on public information. So, let's say that they do a 3-for-1 reverse split. Okay. So a 3-for-1 would make this literally, you're sitting at sub 30 million shares out with 50% owned by management. Now imagine, again, the point that I was saying earlier, that the demand that will go out of the gate the minute that EF Hutton and they hired KCSA, which is a very well-known US investor relations kind of, that has access to family funds, the likes. Imagine once they're able to talk to their network, what's going to happen? So they're going to close the raise, whatever the raise is going to be for the IPO. And then their role is to tell the story. And as far as I know, the time between now, the filing of F1 and accepting F1, they really have very little IR or outreach that they can do, because they have to set the pricing. You want to make sure that the SEC, you're on the right side with the SEC. You don't want to be pissing off, a regulator. They're doing their job. So until they get the acceptance, it's kind of a cool down period. So, but again, going back to my point, there's only like, using my assumptions, there will be less than 15 million shares floating. Imagine what happens. And you guys know what happens is, typically, if you have enough volatility, there will be an option chain opening, which results in even more share price up and down, appreciation, and the like. And in that environment, like with 1 million plus shares traded a day, you can guess where the valuation could go. I have my own estimates. Everyone might have, but we'll stick with what Arrowhead has said, which till today we have, anywhere between 150 to 250 or 200% upside from here, and that's prior. Airhead did not include the Total Energies collaboration. So that's my comment on the US listing. I'll pass down to Mariusz to talk about that, and then we'll talk about the rest of the topics.
Yeah, your color's appreciated, Yazan. Thank you. I know that provides significant value to our viewers. I as well have my thesis. I think we're stepping into quite a dynamic shakeup with both the share price and kind of stepping out of an old era into a new era here with the new listing. Interesting that you separate those two value propositions into two buckets, right? So I would imagine here we're going to get into the Total news, because I actually think that really pushes the fundamental narrative for Aduro. But I want to turn it over to Mariusz. Before we do, I want to say on behalf of my audience, I want to thank you for your time in covering this story, and we'll put you on the main stage here and get your reaction to the latest news that's broke over the last couple of weeks. Mariusz.
Okay. Well, I don't think that's really what happened. I think what happened was that the management of Aduro listened to our previous interview, and they heard me say that I'm ready to go to the moon, and then they were like, well, we got to do something. So how about listing in the US? Anyway, jokes aside, I mean, it's time. It's time for a company like this to do that, because I get amazed and at the same time frustrated with the investors on the venture exchange, because that's what it is. Canadian Stock Exchange and Venture Stock Exchange are venture exchanges. And if you just look at the definition of a venture exchange, it's for companies that grow. It's for companies that have something interesting, startup companies, and those companies should be looked at or treated differently. They shouldn't be treated as oh, it's not profitable yet, or this or that, and that's how these investors on this exchange look at it, and they're like, oh, it's too expensive or it's cheap because it's trading at certain multiple, and they're missing the point. Is that companies like this, it's about a solution. So let's think about what kind of a problem do we have here in the world. Yazan, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't we producing 400 million tons of plastic per year?
450.
450. Okay, but let's keep the math simple. So if you look at Aduro's presentation, the numbers, the revenue projections based on the size of the unit, the revenue for the unit, it's about $1,000 per ton. That's in the presentation. Okay, so can somebody here do a calculation of 400 million tons times 1,000? And can you give me a number?
It's a lot of dough. It's basically almost 40 billion.
No, it's $4 trillion.
4 trillion. You're right.
4 trillion, right? So now, 4 trillion is a problem that we have in the world. 4 trillion. That's a $4 trillion problem, right? And here we have a company that has a solution, and nobody is even there close to the technology that Aduro has, right? So, and I'm not saying that Aduro's technology is going to be used to process 400 million tons of plastic. I'm just saying is that there's a problem. There's a $4 trillion problem. And this is a company that has a solution for a $4 trillion problem. So how much of this problem can be solved with this technology? And how much do you think a technology like this is worth to society, to Wall Street, to people? Do you think it's a good idea to price it at 100 million, 200 million? I mean, it's outrageous, right? So anybody looking at this is like, you know what? I'm an entrepreneur. I see this huge problem. I see this technology that can solve it. Part of it, big part of it, whatever. It's a lot of dough. Like how much is it worth to me? How much am I willing to pay for this? And we have, as some of you know, I used to be a real estate appraiser. And to appraise a property, like if it's a commercial property, you look at the income statement, you look at comparable properties, you look at the cost, the cost approach. Like when I did the interview with Ofer, he told me what the breakup value would be, about 200 million. Okay, that's kind of like a cost approach. The income approach, we can be like, it's a $4 trillion problem. How much of that can we capture? But we also have comparables that we can look at. And Yazan just said, there's a company out there, Pure Cycle, that doesn't have a technology that's even close to us, doesn't even own the IP, has one plant, and they have a market cap of 1.5 billion. And if I'm not mistaken, at some point they were valued at $8 billion. So,
yeah,
am I correct? They were valued at $8 billion at one point. So that gives me an idea of how excited the market can be for a possible solution. And so now coming to NASDAQ with 15 million shares that are available for a float after the rollback, like, can we reach $1 billion valuation? That would be $10 per share pre-rollback. Can we reach $10 billion valuation? That would be $100 per. Like none of these numbers would be crazy if you compare it to the problem that this technology solves. And I don't know what the number is, but none of this would be crazy. And what I do know is the valuation today is insane insane to the downside, to the cheapness in relation what this thing can do for the world. And when it goes on NASDAQ and everybody can, not NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, everybody can trade it. Everybody with a Robinhood account can buy it. And if it's 15 million shares, you can't buy half a share. If it's 15 million shares available, I mean, it could get completely out of control. And that's what people that look at the stock today, they don't understand what can happen. Like if you present something like this to Jim Cramer from Mad Money, you don't think he'd be freaking excited to talk about this? I mean, how can you not be excited to talk about solving the problem? I can be the savior of the world. How can you not talk about this company? How can you not want to talk about this company? Like, I go to bed dreaming about how great things are owning this company. Like this company can catch fire, and there's not a lot of shares available. So anyway, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, if I may carry that thought also, it's also important to understand, like when Mariusz is saying what's happening in the landscape. So if we use that 450 million tons of waste plastic, just to remind everyone, less than 10% of that gets recycled. Okay, so we have, over the years, in the last 20 plus years, we've accumulated also 8 billion tons of waste plastic. So I have shared with you guys yesterday a chart that shows you by Nova Chemicals. They were showing how much advanced chemical recycling plants and recycling is coming online. And by the year 2027, 2028, there will be 700,000 tons, if everything goes well, 700,000 tons recycled. So anyone that comes in and keeps saying, well, we don't know if there is like competition, that's noise, because, you have a 400 and plus million that no one's touching. You have 90%, 70% of this waste plastic is contaminated. No one wants to touch. So do you want to be like, do you want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the rest of that plastic, that waste that no one's touching? Or do you want to be stuck at, no, but the financials, the economics, the right now? And the right now is like almost irrelevant, because all these other one singular, plant companies, they are all getting funded by VCs and so on, and they're getting decent valuations, and no one's saying, no, but you're not profitable now. Like, so what? You're having a solution to a major problem that everyone needs to have a solution for. I mean,
and let me just stop you for a second, Yazan. So yeah. I did the calculation, and I'm wrong. It's not 4 trillion. It's 400 billion. So I just wanted to correct that. That's what I should have said. That's the size of the problem.
Yeah. So in any case, I mean, 400 billion, but again, that we're talking about just the plastic waste. And then we skipped rubber tires, we skipped bitumen, we skipped renewables, we skipped pretty much everything. So so the room for the upside is massive. What I guess Mariusz is saying is, look, you always, when you're in the investment thesis, always looks at what is my downside protection. Again, I'm gonna just use a quotation from Arrowhead before the Total and before the recent advancements, and they were saying that 100 million US is roughly the IP. That's their valuation. Management thinks it's 200. Take whatever. So we are trading at kind of that downside protection. We're trading there, so we're not putting any value for anything that has happened. So I think that approach is, not for growth stocks. That approach is more for like liquidation kind of thing. So, which is not the case. Now, the other thing which is also important is just to put in context what I was saying. So if the entire world by 2027, 2028 is going to recycle or have 800,000 tons of plastic waste recycled advanced via advanced chemical recycling. That's not even 0.5%. Like you see, like it's mind-boggling what market share you can go after. And we're not talking about the other thing that is amazing. And I guess I'm going to switch gears to Total. The amazing thing for us as shareholders of Aduro is the following. What I love about what Ofer and the team have done is that till today, we have remained independent. And guess what? This week we got a major check mark from a $160 billion company. That check mark did not say in the press release that there is some, exclusivity. They didn't say that they will own part of the IP. They didn't say any of that. So now we have a $160 billion gorilla that is fighting on our side. I know a lot of people are like, okay, well, how much revenue are they going to get out of it? That is, in my opinion, the wrong way of looking at it. There will be revenue, which is great, but the amount of in-kind, which no one knows what it is, but I can think of it, that to me is way more important, because suddenly I have endless resources coming from the number 6 petrochem producer of plastic that wants to have a solution. We're not talking about a new player. These guys have a plan to recycle 30% of waste of their own plastic by the end of 2030. We're talking about a player that has already looked at all the other technologies. In fact, they have 2 investments in 2 other technologies that are mainly pyrolysis. So despite that, they decided that Aduro is needed to collaborate with. So this is why it's such a big deal. Such a big deal because despite their prior commitments, I mean, this is what we keep saying is, at one point you can't keep this to yourself. And now one thing that Mariusz said in his video, I think, was if you're one of the other 6 multi-billion-dollar companies, if you are one of the companies that have been working with Aduro silently without a contract, without being announced, do you really want to be, picky? Can you become as picky as you were before? Like prior to this, probably you could have dictated some terms. You could have said, I want this exclusivity, I want this, I want that. But post this, you're kind of like you're stuck in a tougher spot, and the upper hand is slowly getting to Aduro's side, which is why I like this dynamic of independence. That we are where we are. We are in a different mindset, and soon, once you are on a bigger exchange, guess what? All these people that own Total or own this or own that, all the sustainability funds, all that, they want to be part of this. Why wouldn't you be? This is a very exciting thing to be part of. I mean, think of any ETF that has to do with sustainability. Do they not want to have part of a solution to one of the biggest world problems? Like they're like, no, we're good. We don't want. We're covered here. So I think it's fascinating.
Just real quick, Yazan, I think, and my audience gets my opinion all the time on this topic. I'm humbled at the opportunity when the announcement broke, at least to uplist for me. It even more solidified my conviction to hold long. I want to premise for existing shareholders out there that there will probably be some short-sighted selling out there. And I do say short-sighted because I look at 40 bips on this appreciation, and it means really nothing to me. It's nice to see the share accumulation increase, but the magnitude of these two announcements for different reasons, in my interpretation, has just solidified not only my stock holding, but reaffirmed my trust in this management in delivering on what they promise they are going to do. And that, my friends, in the stock market in general, is a very, very rare and very, very powerful commodity. And until proven otherwise, I've listened to the projections. I've listened to Ofer outline the yearly goals, and quite frankly, I'm happy for 2024. I mean, I'm happy, right? Whatever transpires over the next few months, I am satisfied. It couldn't have been any better than Total Energy. I am not surprised that it is domiciled in Europe, and Europe is the first mover on this topic, which has its inherent benefits because it seems as if they are on the cutting edge and the front edge of this problem. So not only from an access perspective on the uplisting and then a value proposition on the Total announcement, you have two dynamic forces that have put a shock through the stock. And here we are in a couple months, we're going to close down the envelope on ACTHF, and we're going to open up a whole new chapter of trading. And my friends, you thought you needed to buckle your seatbelt for the last couple of years? Wait for the next evolution of this company, because this shakeup is going to be amazing. The availability is going to put a network on notice immediately when this thing IPOs to the New York Stock Exchange. I would encourage everybody to make their own decisions, but absolutely be patient and do not be premature on exiting this, because I think where a lot of people think we're in the latter eighth inning, I actually think we're in the bottom of the first. I'll turn it over to Mariusz.
I actually have a question to you, Ryan, because
Please.
you are a stock market investor, but you kind of got introduced to this world of microcap stocks, through me.
I am not a micro cap investor.
Right.
That is absolutely true.
Right. So, I am all in it, and for you, it's just part of it. And now, like you've seen some things. You've seen Aduro, you've seen Plurilock, you've seen things. Now, do you understand now why we are in this space now, after you see what you've seen?
I do. It's interesting to phrase it that way. I've got many years of stock market ups and downs, and the beauty of social media is that I wouldn't have been introduced to the power of an opportunity like Aduro Clean Technology if it wasn't for you two gentlemen and the continued efforts of Penny and a few other isolated opportunities where people like me who would have never been provided that are provided that access through information. And if the discerning mind can pick up on that and realize that, I think what you are doing specifically, Mariusz, is defining a blue ocean. Okay. It's coupling a discarded market for many years and some justification to that as to why those perceptions about the OTC markets and microcap investing exist, right? But I think through the right lens and the right evaluation, you're not going to be right on everything. But what you're doing is kind of on the fly, writing a playbook so that people can perhaps maybe putting all of their, life savings on lottery tickets every single week. Maybe they can explore other options. Okay. People in this country specifically are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. Okay. Either you want to stick your head in the sand and be naive to that fact, or you want to educate yourself up on what are the activities that the wealthy are engaging in and what is their mindset to justify engaging on this. And to speak about your question to me, I think there are deficiencies in the microcap space. I think there's a level of psychology that must be had. And I don't know if it's necessarily scalable to the masses. But as far as mixing my longstanding capability in the market and looking at an opportunity, I was sold from day one. Mariusz, I was looking at Aduro from 52. Unfortunately, the game changer announcement came and I picked up my first shares at 62 cents, right? But I was sold right away prior to the game changer announcement. And I just think, in summary, people need to stop being so emotional about stock market investing. What if we were the opposite side? What if Aduro hadn't have worked out? Would I have just, you would have been the worst thing ever, right? And I would have come onto social media and said, you're terrible. What we need to show is a lot more appreciation for the people like you who are in battles every single day with people on social media, coming on, telling you that you don't know what you're talking about. Well, you do. And I've seen it with more opportunities than just Aduro, Mariusz. Yeah, you've had your bad beats, and that comes with the territory. But people have to understand the game that they are getting involved with before they get involved. And if they're ill prepared to do it, I would just rather those people not be involved and look to educate themselves up on the topic.
No, I agree. And your point to if this is scalable, there's only so many people that you can fit into each opportunity because we people are used to, oh, I'm going to buy Tesla, Nvidia, and I can buy as much as I want. As much as I want. That's not the case here. But the financial industry is in the business of gathering assets. And hedge funds, mutual funds, they manage billions of dollars worth of assets from individuals. And then those assets, it's like, you have to have a big well to put those assets in. So they have to, go after the Microsofts, the Teslas, Nvidias. They have to. But, if you're an individual, putting your money together with other individuals to go after big opportunities is actually a disadvantage. If you want to roll up your sleeves, if you want to do your due diligence, you can do quite well, going after those opportunities. I mean, think about what Warren Buffett said when he was asked what he would do if he was young with $10,000. He didn't say he would buy Nvidia. He said he would go after obscure opportunities, which is exactly what we're doing. And I say that being in this space is like you're a freaking you're a matador fighting with a bull every day, and then you have people in the audience having opinions every day on what you should do, how stupid you are, and you've seen exactly that. But now I'm thinking about, like, for example, your own portfolio. I kind of have an idea of how many shares of Aduro you have because you publicize this, but it's not. I don't think it's too far away that if you held on to all your shares, Aduro becomes 50% of your portfolio, and that's quite remarkable. That for anybody to be able to do that.
I think I will say this, and I've declared this through social media, and a lot of people know this about me. I don't come from money. I've been given nothing. I've had my bad beats. I've had my trials, tribulations through experience in the market. And I think when I look at Aduro, I've got 117,500 shares right now, right? Those will restructure and that share count will reduce, right? From a share price and a share accumulation basis, right? What's going to happen? I don't know. I'm eagerly waiting for the prospectus. And I hope all share owners out there are eagerly waiting the prospectus on how the share restructure is going to shake out. Yazan, you mentioned, perhaps maybe the 50 million in the float existing. I would presume there's an opportunity to issue new shares. Do you have any insight on that at all? because what you're talking about is just existing shares, right, through the reverse, which is atypical, right? This reverse, or I like to call it IPO, because typically a reverse comes out of weakness, right, to consolidate. Aduro doesn't have a lot of shares to consolidate. So to make room for new investors, which we know is out there, is that something that we could expect? And again, I don't want to dabble in dialogue, but it's all kind of up in the air right now as to how this restructuring is going to happen. I think the opportunity is going to tell us a lot about who's going to be interested when the volume picks up. But do you have any insight on that?
Yeah. I have looked at all the recent EF Hutton transactions, and I'm gonna use that as my benchmark, because that's kind of, they are number one in IPOs, since 2022. So I'll say that what I've seen, obviously they're not engaged to be in the business of just helping the company go public. They obviously want to take care of their book, and everyone talks their book. They are, as I said, in this environment where until the F1 is approved, they are unable to speak to their clients. So, which in itself offers a very unique opportunity for existing shareholders on CSE OTC, because you are it's uncommon. It's like you are able to buy pre-IPO on a hot offering that's coming up. So it is unique. Now, the other piece of the puzzle is how much did they raise? So what I've seen is the average ticket that they've done is between $5 to $10 million US. There was a filing that is not on the SEC, so I'm not sure if it's right or wrong, but it said 6 million US. So I'm assuming that we're in that range. 5 to 10 million US is what they're going to be raising post the restructure. The restructure is not, as you correctly mentioned, restructure or the reverse is just for the sake of meeting the threshold by the, whether it's NYSE or NASDAQ or whatever the US exchange. Having said that, there's nothing prohibitive of, if the share price is already there, they could basically be there. So we're not going to speculate. We're not here to speculate about what happens in the next 2-3 months. God knows how long it takes, but 2-3 months is my expectation. Could be wrong, could be right. But it does offer existing shareholders the opportunity, and new shareholders the opportunity, to come in prior to that. And again, I am of the view, let's take my example, 30 million, 50% is with insiders, so 15 of that. So 15 is left with the float. Let's say that they do the $6 million at the $3, so that's basically another 2 million shares, so 17 million share float. It's not meaningfully huge. Now, if you read the F1, which is something that now that you mentioned it, the F1 actually says that the purpose of the proceeds is to actually build the NGP, to build the pre-commercial unit. And so with the money that they're raising here, alongside what they had prior to the IPO, so they were sitting at around 6 million CAD, I think, without the warrants. So I'm not exactly sure, but let's argue it's 6 million CAD. So roughly 4.5 US. And let's say that they raise 6. So net of fees is probably 5.5, another 5.5 million US. So that puts them at around 10 million US dollars. Now, an NGP, we know from prior conversations that they said it's going to cost 5 to 7 million CAD. So 3.5 to 5 million US. So that's half of what they would have, and call it another 12 months plus of run rate. And one thing that I want to clear up for people, because I do see a couple of comments about, well, the uplist comes with a cost, which is true. I mean, when you go on a bigger exchange, you're going to pay the biggest expense, as far as I know, is not the listing expense, by the way. The biggest expense is the insurance for the directors, which for a company the stage of Aduro, because they don't have significant revenue, the insurance is not as big as some people think. That said, I think the all-in-all cost of being listed is going to be $1.5 $2 million US per year. So, the money that they'll have will be enough to build the NGP, to go for a year, and God knows what happens after that, because they still have a lot of warrants, they still have a lot of interest. And guess what? Like, as Mariusz said the other day, if this company goes 500, 700, $1 billion, what prohibits them from raising a secondary raise after that? Nothing, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not talking on their behalf. I'm just saying, if I'm them, that's what I would do. If I get to 5 to 7, 800 million US, I definitely want to raise more money, because that's a prudent thing to do. And then, now you have enough room to even go from NGP to commercial units. So there's a lot to look forward to. I think people, to the point that you mentioned, Ryan, because that was a very good point. The people that are celebrating the 40% up, it's great. And for those people that decided to exit, again, we can't hold anyone to. Everyone has their own money, circumstances, whatever. But I really think the excitement is about to start. Like, the real fireworks, in my opinion, is about to start. Could I be wrong? 100%. But I do think everything I see in front of me tells me that the excitement is ahead of us, not behind us. And, again, we each have our own expectation of where it should be. Could be right, could be wrong. This is not a financial advice, but we are, if I was excited 1 inch prior to these developments, I should be excited 10x. So that I'll leave it at that.
I mean, when it comes to excitement, like, I know what excitement is, and I haven't seen much excitement yet. It was like pulling teeth for 2 years. Like, I mean, how many times I saw Ryan make a video, and you can see the frustration, because it's like people just didn't want to listen. For how long my Aduro videos, they just didn't want to watch them. Like, excitement. What excitement? Maybe you just excited yourself.
I am, and that's the reality. I am excited about it. I think the days ahead, the months ahead, are very exciting, and hopefully we'll live to see them and see this be a major success for ourselves and your network. And I think it's fascinating to see this company that a few years ago was not even public, was struggling to raise a couple of $1 million to be where it's at. It's just gives you a lot of pride. But also the other thing is this being part of this investment is actually it gives you a lot of moral satisfaction, because you are feeling that you're doing something. Like, all the talking that we've done, all the breaking our heads and saying this is a great opportunity, outside of the the financial side of it, there's a social aspect of it that is not a greenwash. It's not a feel good. It is real do good by the environment. So if you are an environmentalist or not, If you want to stick to the financial side, this has a ton of financial reasons for you to be involved in. But if you want to have a duality of being invested financially as well as have a reason, a purpose, this is as good as it gets, in my opinion.
People get short-sighted, I think, in understanding that Aduro is well over 10 years old. And I think, you know, this excitement, as fun as it is, we also need to remember that, you know, it has been many, many years in the making. And I never sensed that the upper management wasn't working as hard as they possibly could to realize this opportunity for share owners. I appreciated the transparency. I appreciated all of the updates. You know, I always felt like everything, and you just touched on it, Yazan, with regard to their strategic and pointed goal through this uplisting to be for next generation. And in a true Aduro fashion, right? They're not going after the world here. They're looking strategically and really pragmatically at what they can realistically do and forecasting what they can not only say that they want to do, but actually do what they're saying that they want to do. And that has been proven out over and over and over again with Aduro. And I just think that's very, very impressive. And I think the upper management needs to be commended for their efforts up to this. And congratulations to the Aduro team, because I know for Marcus and for Ofer, this goes back, you know, more than 10 years ago, and good on them, because it is not easy to do this, my friends. For anybody catching this, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I've said this, I've had it thrown back in my face. I have seen it come and go many, many times. I've never talked to a CEO that doesn't think that their company is the best thing since sliced bread. And you know, it's interesting. Ofer comes a lot across different. He really does. He definitely has command of this company, but you know, he comes across different. He comes across sincere, and I think his words, as few as they might be, his actions truly do back up what I feel as a share owner, and I choose to feel this way. That they really do have the share owner in their best interest, and I believe that to continue into the future. Mariusz, turn it over to you, I guess, for the last words, guys. I could talk to you guys for the next 12 hours about this topic. I mean, I'm just getting fired up, but for the sake of the audience, I think maybe we keep it, you know, under an hour if we can, and perhaps maybe start to wrap it down and get closing thoughts on it. Mariusz?
I mean, it's you know, it's a nice time now. It kind of, you know, we're getting validation on this name.
Mariusz, I watched a few videos. Listen, I watched a few videos of you during the course of the last couple of years, man, and I was like, give this guy an effing bone, please. You deserve it, man. So yeah, you deserve to enjoy
Yeah.
this moment. Absolutely. You do too, Yazan. People don't understand. They think that they can just you know, think of these opportunities in the stock market, and they are not as easy to come by as people think that they are. I really want to stress that. So well earned to the both of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
I
you know, the last 2 years, they've been an absolute hell being in this space. Absolute hell. And you know, now the things are happening, and it's just nice. It's just nice to have it happen, you know, because this is not the first time where I went through a phase where you're just like, you know what, anything you touch just turns into shit, you know, and you just go through months and months, and this turned into years of just constant pain, and now it's finally, you know, coming around. And you know, it's like it was all this pain, it was like a down payment for a future success.
Well said, my friend. I tell you what, we'll continue to pulse in on this project going forward. I want to turn it over to Yazan for the last word. I'm going to yield back my time to Yazan. You guys on the Independent Investor Channel, look, I'm going to continue to cover Aduro. This is not just an investment with me. It is partially, like Yazan says, a very, very easy initiative to get behind. But for me, it represents something very personal to me. I saw it right away. It couldn't have come at a worse time in my life to be making another large commitment coming off of the heels of a pretty bad beat in the stock market. I didn't care. I wasn't apologetic. I'm not apologetic to a public audience, and I'm certainly not going to be apologetic to myself, because when you see an opportunity like this, you have to seize the opportunity, man. I don't like the onus that you only live once. I do not, because I think it promotes frivolous activity in people. But in this particular case, you got to put a little risk on the table, because either good things or bad things are going to happen. But if you do nothing, rest assured, nothing will happen. I'll turn it over to Yazan here for the last word.
Thank you, guys. I mean, look, I think the last 2.5 years in the microcap space, it has been a very rough experiment, and I do understand the other side of the token. I do understand the people that say we've been burnt by XYZ pre-revenue. I understand it. Why? Because during the euphoria, during the time of 2020, 2021, when interest rates were zero and money was being handed for free, yeah, I mean, the valuations went nuts. And then when the music stopped and interest rates took a massive increase from 0 to 5.5%, guess what? It doesn't matter what equity class you had, unless you were in the even the Mag 7. You know, Mag 7 did not catch a break until last October 2023. The point is that as you, Mariusz, say, look, you really, it's not easy to get behind a name, and trust me, it's taken me days, and even the people that have the best conviction, you know, one thing, one bad week, so on, can rattle that. But I think this is one that is going to be very, very exciting to the years to come. I mean, look, I'm very proud of this company. I'm very proud to talk about it. I'm proud shareholder of it. It's not common, and as you said, it's not common. And again, even if you're a person that has been on the sidelines, I would love for people to cheer for this. This is a good thing. You need a company that resolves a major problem. We are eating plastic. So if you don't want the solution, you want us to just eat plastic and have no solution, great. But outside of reality, the reality is we have a world-class solution to one of the mega trends. And it's just about to get unraveled on or unleashed on a mega exchange, whether that's 2 months, 4 months, I don't know. But it's gonna get a lot of eyeballs, and you know, I'm extremely bullish. I'm extremely grateful for you guys' time, and looking forward to see this unfold in the months, years ahead.
Yeah, I'll end on that note here. And I think the word to take away for the viewing audience is years. I think to realize the maximum profit in this opportunity, I think we're years away from that. To Mariusz's point, enjoy it, because these moments when they do happen based on conviction, based on your own due diligence, is worth acknowledging. Okay. We want to be neutral with our application. Okay. Nobody came on this panel and put on a skirt and jumped up and down for you. Okay. We were businesslike and deliberate, just like we always do, with the aim of delivering information for anybody out there to the open social media conduit to pick up what we're trying to put down for you guys. On behalf of the Independent Investor Channel, on behalf of myself, I'd like to thank Yazan and Mariusz. Unfortunately, Penny could not make it tonight. I know you guys were aware that she was slated to come on. We will catch her at the next opportunity. She had a last minute obligation that she had to attend to. But I want to thank these two gentlemen for making their time. Their insights are invaluable, obviously. Every time I look at my portfolio now, I think of these two guys and the direct impact they made on me, and I really appreciate it. But years away from enjoying this ride, and again, congratulations to the entire Aduro team. This is a heck of a milestone in the evolution of the company, and it is to be acknowledged and it is to be celebrated, guys. So I'd invite you to subscribe to Mariusz's channel. If you like what you got coming down, make sure and subscribe to the channels. Check out the featured channels. It'll plumb you into the conduits that we enjoy here with our network of information. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you.